Tech America. It's an honor to have Yeon-mi Park on the program. She's a refugee from North Korea by way of China, South Korea, into the United States, and happened upon Columbia University. And she's written a fantastic book, While Time Remains. While Time Remains. And I've gone through this book. It's very, very important. It's apropos to what Ellen Dershowitz was talking about. Yeon-mi, welcome to the program. Tell us briefly, you got out of North Korea. Talk a little bit about your background in that regard.
Yeah, I was born in North Korea in 1993. And when I was growing up in North Korea, I believed that my dear leader was a god who had a magical power to read my mind. And I was completely brainwashed to believe that Americans were cold-blooded reptiles. And they never even showed us the map of the world. But however, growing up in North Korea, we really didn't have any food. So I ate lots of insects and plants, and eventually, when I was 13 years old, we had to escape to China to look for food. So I crossed the frozen Yalu River with my mother at 13, and as soon as we got to China, we were sold as sex slaves. And I was sold for over $200, and they sold my mother for $65. 2 years of slavery, I met a Christian missionaries from South Korea, and they told us to escape to freedom, which was South Korea. So I walked across the frozen Gobi Desert into Mongolia, and from there I flew to South Korea.
Wow. So North Korea is as bad as people say it is, isn't it? It's really a prison colony of sorts, run by a dictator who inherit the country like you inherit a car. And the people have absolutely no say, and if they dare to speak out, they'll be killed, won't they?
Yeah, I remember the very first thing my mom told me as a young girl was, don't even whisper, because the birds and mice could hear me. If I said one thing wrong, it was not going to just kill me, it was going to up to 8 generations of my family. So saying one wrong word was the most dangerous thing you could do in North Korea.
So they go through your family tree to find people you're related to and kill them too?
Yeah, so if one person commits a crime, in North Korea, something called a collective guilt, collective crime. Therefore, they punish 3 generations to 8 generations, and sometimes they even punish the in-laws, the ones who are not related through blood, but through marriage. And that's how they make sure that nobody can ever resist the government.
So you get to South Korea, and then you got to the United States. How did you get into Columbia? That's not the easiest school to get into.
Yeah, I was studying in South Korean University. I was studying criminal justice, and I came to America to write my first book in New York City. And I heard there's a great university called Columbia, so I made a transfer from Korean University to Columbia University.
And so you took a full complement of courses, you're in these courses, and what did you find out while you were studying these various subjects?
But the first day at Columbia, I realized, in a way, Columbia was crazier than North Korean classrooms. The anti-Western, anti-capitalism, anti-white man, the sentiment was even deeper and way more passionate than in North Korean classrooms. In a way, in North Korean classrooms, if we do not say American bastards and kill them and hate the Western capitalism, we are going to get executed. But at Columbia University, voluntarily, these people want to destroy their own country. Voluntarily, nobody puts a gun into their heads, but they all say the ultimate goal of in their life is destroying American Constitution and rebuilding this nation in the name of equity, is collectivism.
So you come to the United States, truly a land of freedom. And you experienced hell in North Korea. You come to this country, which really is, as Reagan said, a shining city on a hill. We have hundreds of millions of people all over the world that want to come into this country from every corner of the planet. And you go to Columbia, and they're trashing the country, and they're trashing the economic system, and they're trashing white people, and you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, I thought I escaped this. And was it just the professors or the students too?
It was literally everybody. This is what it really resembled North Korea was. When I was in North Korea, it was like you're almost living in a Truman Show, the movie. You cannot ask people what they think. You cannot do a public survey because if people raise their opinions, they're going to get persecuted. And at Columbia, because we had the concept of safe space, where we don't make anyone feel uncomfortable emotionally. So there's no diversity of opinions, there's no diversity of thoughts and speech. Therefore, we were not able to hear different perspectives. And as soon as I was trying to argue with my professor saying that I believe that there's a difference between men and women. And this fact, even North Koreans know it. However, my professor say, who said that you cannot be a man and you are brainwashed? And that's how she shut me down in the class. And eventually there's a students code where if we do make somebody feel unsafe emotionally, we can get kicked out of university entirely.
So for recognizing that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, that they even recognize in North Korea, you say, if somebody's
Yes.
uncomfortable with that scientific biological fact, they might throw you out of the university. I want to talk more about Columbia University and what you experienced there when we return. We'll be right back. Welcome back, America. I'm talking to Youngmi Park, a refugee from North Korea, and now a refugee from Columbia University, as far as I can tell. She has a fantastic book, While Time Remains, forward by Jordan Peterson, by the way. While Time Remains, this is the book. I strongly encourage you to get a copy on Amazon.com. Make sure you hand them out to your kids and grandkids because they need to read this. So, Youngmi Park, my question is this. You come to Columbia University, you have escaped from North Korea, and your experience outside of Columbia University is one of relative freedom in the United States. You go into Columbia University. Do you think Columbia University and universities like that are a danger to the United States, indoctrinating all these young people, smart people, into a totalitarian mindset?
It is I think, the biggest threat that our nation and our civilization is facing. The idea of enlightenment, which is dare to think, that was not accepted in North Korea. And at Columbia University, they exactly do the opposite of the enlightenment ideas, and they trash the idea. And I really want to explain the tactics that Columbia University uses is exactly like a North Korean regime used to brainwash people. First, they went after math. In North Korean classroom, my teacher asked me, what is 1 plus 1? I said 2, and she said it wrong. Because my dear leader, when he was a child, added 1 drop of water to another drop of water, it became bigger one. It did not become 2. And that's how math was made by white men to oppress minorities. That same narrative was exactly at Columbia University. They said math is made up by the white men to oppress minority people. And then they go after the collective guilt. I have a son who is half American, who's half North Korean, he's half white. And they said white people are privileged and white people are guilty because of their ancestors' crime. Exactly America copying North Korean system where we punish individuals for not something they did, but their ancestors did. And that's evil and that's injustice. So these tactics, they go after every truth and redefining definitions, like what rape is. I'm a rape survivor. I was raped at 13 in China, and at Columbia, we have to go to this mandatory orientation where we learn about consent. And if classmates and I go out, get a drink, and then we sleep together with the consent, but next day, I can accuse him of rape because I was under the influence of drinking. But what about the guy? And they call that's a rape. So every definition, every truth get redefined by these institutions, and they twist their mind and somehow think that merits or competence is evil, and that's a sign of white supremacy. And they try to make us almost handicapped, disabled people. We cannot handle anything mentally.
So the war on the language, They demand conformity of speech and conformity of thinking. The point you say is brainwashing and indoctrination, and I'm talking about Ivy League schools like Columbia. And they take courses, subjects that you would think are non-political, like mathematics. And even there, and it's interesting you would say that. We're seeing this now in medical schools across the United States and so forth and so on. The resegregation of our society. Do you think this is part of the Marxist ideology, whether it's practiced in North Korea or classrooms in Columbia University?
It's definitely rooted from that. North Korea was designed by Stalin, who was following the Lenin and Marx. So it's definitely rooted from that ideology and came to America now, dividing people based on their skin color, something that you cannot change, and dividing people by the class, and oppressing oppressors. And this is so evil. They don't view us as individuals. And when I fell in love with America was the idea that individual is the smallest minority. That's why individual matters and individual liberty matters. The countries like North Korea and China, they think the worst thing you can be is an individualistic person. You have to be a part of collective, and that's when you only matter, when you're part of the group. And when I come to America, I thought that is supposedly being an individual is important. And in Colombia, it's not. It's all about being a collective, all about being a part of a group and having a group identity.
Your story is so crucial, particularly now in America, given what's going on in this country. And this book is an absolute must-read. And I don't say that just to say it. It is crucial. While time remains. Listen to that title, folks. While time remains. Here's the book, Yeonmi Park. I encourage you to get a copy. Yeonmi, I want to thank you. And you're a